This episode was recorded before the coronavirus outbreak.
This experience in Congo really shaped me back then. I was 19 and very naive, and it really set me on a path that I can't turn back on.
Meet Palle Bo, a digital nomad from Denmark on an epic journey around the world.
We're in the Cape Flats. The township area is around 25 kilometers, 15 miles, southeast of what we know as the city of Cape Town. But in fact, this is still Cape Town.
We are right in the middle of Cape Town, but people don't understand that.
This is Florian Kraemer, our host for the day and the founder of this orphanage. We're standing in his office looking at an aerial photo of the entire Cape Town area.
Cape Town city center, if you look at the map, doesn't lie in the center of Cape Town. It lies between Table Mountain and the sea here at the edge. Then you've got the mountains here, Table Mountain, you've got the white areas along the mountain here, and then out here you've got the colored and the black areas.
But just to get it in perspective, if from the city center, we're around 25 kilometers
exactly
from
to the farm from the city center.
Yeah.
We are quite close to the airport, as you can see here. And now if you look at this area here, this is a farmland in the middle of it, surrounded by the township. And this farmland in the middle of the townships is about 8-9 kilometers long and about 6 kilometers wide. So it's a huge farmland, and this is actually, believe it or not, it's a German colony. It was formed in 1800 something, 200 years ago. They imported German farmers from the Lüneburger Heide in the north of Germany because they knew how to turn beach sand into arable land. Mm-hmm. So that's what they've been doing for 200 years. They've been cultivating this land. And Cape Townians don't know this area because they have to drive through the townships somehow to get here. The tourists don't know it because there's nothing here. So when I say that I have a farm in Cape Town, they always think that I'm outside of the township, outside in the actual Western Cape in the farm areas. But we are in smack bang in the middle of Cape Town if you look at it as a whole. Yeah. And right next to this farmland, you've got these massive townships here. And what you've got here, we've got about 1,000 black people coming to Cape Town every day. 1,000 new black people. And they come from the rural areas where there's no work for them and so on. So, of course, they come into a township where they know someone and they live with family members. That means all the houses here in the townships get fuller and fuller and fuller. Now, you see in between the houses, you've got all these shacks that start springing up. And then even those shacks are full with 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 people, and once the whole township is so full of people, then it kind of floods over. So this township, as you can see here, is not an official township. This is official. It's got. Sorry, can we interrupt this?
Guys, I'm trying to get an interview here. Jesus.
So while Florian is telling the playing kids to be a little bit quiet, let me just tell you a little bit about the place and who we're meeting today. Florian Kraemer is the CEO and founder of Vulamasango. He's German, but he's been here so long so you can detect a South African accent. Vulamasango means open gates in Xhosa. It's a non-profit organization, and they open their doors to orphanaged and vulnerable children from the townships in Cape Town and provides them with a new home and a brighter future. And it's a child and youth care facility for children whose parents passed away or, for whatever reason, are not able to provide for and look after their children anymore. One of the things they're known for is their youth choir and children's project called Voluma. They sing and travel to faraway places around the world to give concerts. As I get here, they are rehearsing, and I get a little private concert. Throughout this episode, you can hear the recordings from that one and from some of their concerts from YouTube. So we're just south of the airport and around 10 kilometers west of the largest and fastest growing township in South Africa, Khayelitsha. It's almost impossible to know just how many people live in Khayelitsha. Wikipedia says 392,000, but that number is from 2011. Another number I found was from 2014. Here it said as many as 450,000. The residents of Khayelitsha say that these official figures are way too low, and it's often claimed that the area in fact has over 1 million residents. And Florian says that the number of the people living in Khayelitsha more likely is 1.6 million. And that was at the time of the recording, and with 1,000 new people moving in almost every day, it's possibly a lot higher now. So basically, a lot of people. And they live very close to each other in small shacks. It's estimated that more than 99% of them are black or colored, and this is very close to where we are, in an orphanage in Cape Town called Vulamasango. Welcome to a very special episode of the Radio Vagabond.
This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
As I mentioned, Vulamasango is founded and run by Florian Kraemer. He's 47 now, and to find out just how he ended up down here in the southern tip of Africa, starting an orphanage, we have to go back to when he was 19. He decided to go on a crazy hitchhiking trip with a friend and ended up getting lost in Congo in the middle of a civil war. He tells the story while they're still singing in the room next door.
When I was 19 and I finished school in Germany, I decided to hitchhike from Congo to Cape Town. I'd been to Cape Town before for 6 months in 1988 when I was 15. I came here on a class exchange, so I loved the country. And then I booked a flight to Congo, and what I didn't know was that there was a big civil war happening there. So in 92, end of 92, I got into a very, very hectic civil war in Congo, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which was back then Zaire. And I traveled there for a month to try and get to the border where we could walk across the mountains into Uganda, because the borders were all closed because of the war, so we couldn't get out. And then we got to the border, it was me and a friend, and we had to walk across, for about 12 hours we walked through the mountains, and we lost our way completely, and we hadn't eaten for 3 days, and we had no money. And
when was this?
In 92.
Yeah, so no Google
92.
Maps at that time.
No Google Maps, no handies, no cell phones, no nothing. We were very old school, and we didn't have communication to the outside world. There was no post, no nothing. Zaire is a terrible country, in terms of living standards and so on. It's very poor. So anyway, after a month of traveling, we got to that border. Then we walked for 12 hours through the mountains. We hadn't eaten for 3 days. We were very weak. And in the evening, we collapsed somewhere in the jungle, and we had no path, no direction, no nothing. And we sat there we were lying there in the jungle, and then this 8-year-old boy, maybe 7, 8 years old, a little African boy, he found us there in the night, and he was pulling on my arm for so long, and I kept trying to tell him that I can't get up, I'm too weak, and he persisted and he didn't want to let go. And eventually I got up and I took the rucksack and I took my friend, and I took this boy by the hand, and he led us through the jungle for another 2 hours or something. And then suddenly we were standing in front of this cottage, and he dropped us there and he left. And this cottage was actually an international observer station, and in that cottage was the British ambassador to Uganda, believe it or not, and he was there with his family. And in the middle of the night we knocked there, and he opened the door, and we told our story, and he was quite shocked. And then after our story, he asked us if we know what day this is, and we said no, we have no clue. Sometime in December, after a month of civil war, we didn't keep track of time. So he said today is Christmas Eve, so it was actually 24th of December that he found me there. And without the boy, we wouldn't have survived, I know that for sure. And the next morning we woke up, I mean, that family, they were celebrating Christmas there, and they had wine and meat and juice, and it was so nice. And then the next morning we woke up, and the entire valley where this boy found us was flattened. The rebel army was moving through. We heard the shots, we saw the army moving through the valley, and they killed almost everyone there. I collected newspaper articles, and I think no one survived in that area. I'm sure the boy also didn't survive.
So
I never saw him again, of course. No, I never went back to the country. I mean, we couldn't. And I know I owe my life to this boy, and at that time I didn't know what to do with my life. I had no idea, and that day.
How old were you at the
19.
time? 19. Oh, wow.
Yeah, just out of school, and I grew up in a very conservative.
What were you thinking?
Nothing much. We went to Frankfurt to the embassy of Zaire, and we got our visa, and we asked, "Is Zaire? Is it cool? Is it nice to travel there?"
If you were my boy, I would spank you.
And the embassy just said, "No, it's fine. You can travel there. $150 for the visa, please." And they didn't tell us anything, so we were really stupid and naive in a sense. But so anyway, when we then that day when we were rescued, that next day, then I got very, very sick. My friend as well, he had malaria, and we both had some tropical virus. And I just managed to travel to Uganda, to the capital, to Kampala that day. And we thought we could go to a hospital there and get medication because we were really in pain. I was bleeding out of my back and so on. And we walked through the hospital, and Uganda back then in 92 was the worst AIDS country in the world, and now they're a lot better. And we just saw people lying on the floor, and women that didn't even have breasts anymore were trying to breastfeed children. It was just skin, and it was flies. It was terrible, like you see normally in the news. And we walked through the hospital, and we didn't even ask for medication because it seemed so ridiculous. And we went to our campsite, and we just were lying there for 3 weeks trying to get well, and I was like bleeding out of my system and in incredible pain. But yeah, we made it through. And in those 3 weeks when I was lying there, I decided that I wanted to do a project in Africa somewhere for children affected by violence or HIV or anything like that.
This is where I normally would tell you that you can use hotels25.com when you're traveling. Obviously, if you're listening now during the corona outbreak, you should stay at home. But you can close your eyes and fantasize of a time that is coming when you're able to travel again. Move around the world a bit more than just slipping into the local supermarket. And then see yourself getting a super cool deal on a place to stay, because that is what hotels25.com does. If you're listening at a later date, and I know that a lot of people do, what are you waiting for? Get out there and start by going to hotels25.com.
then I did actually still finish the 7 countries, 13,000 kilometers. We still hitchhiked to Cape Town. And then I wanted to study in Cape Town because I wanted to study social science, social work and psychology, but with the focus of South Africa already. So eventually in 97 I started studying here. That was after the democracy, and then I studied for 6 years and finished my degree. Then I went back to Germany, started a fundraising organization there, collected the first money, then came back here after a year and started the organization.
But this wasn't where the whole thing started for Florian's project.
No, it began I started my first project in a township in Cape Town, in Nyanga, which is the most violent, crime-ridden suburb in Cape Town. And I started the project there together with an old African mama, and she had a little plot already, but she didn't have electricity and internet and whatever. And I had money and was a social worker, so we started working together, but the community was fighting us, and they were destroying fences and buildings, and they were shooting our children, and they killed a 5-year-old boy from our creche and so on. So it was really a fight, and after 5 years I hadn't achieved what I wanted to achieve, and to build the orphanage, and so I gave up. And at that time I was really depressed, and I thought, should I give up completely? And then my board of directors in Germany, they urged me to carry on and try again. And then we decided we wanted a project close to the townships but not in the townships. And then I found this farm, then I bought it in 2009, and then we relocated from the township to this project here and gave it a new name, Vulamasango. And since we've come here, it's been going fantastically well. We completed the first building phase with the 4 buildings, the first 3 orphanages and an office building. But we still want to build We want to build 12 orphanages in total on this plot here, 12 houses, plus a medical care facility, kitchen and laundry, and a computer school and library, plus the sports field and so on. So there's still a lot to develop. We want to do 3 more big building phases of developing.
But still, it must be frustrating that you can only help so many, and you want to save every child that needs to be saved, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
or,
not...
Or is that something that
No,
you get immune to that over time?
I think I'm quite realistic. I'm not delusional in terms of trying to help an entire township or country or town. You know, it's impossible. We can only give individual children a chance. And, we have had a lot of successes. We have more than 10 children at university now studying maths, law, engineering, food technology, social work. So we have a lot of successes, and this is what keeps us going, or me going, you know. We do lose a few children, and not everyone takes the chances they get from us, but most of them do. And we can only hope that this has a multiplying effect on others, you know. I mean, you saw inside here our youth care manager, the one who was singing there with the choir. I mean, she came here as a child, and now she's in the management of Vulamasango, you know.
Voice.
12 years later, she's got a voice. So, you know, those are our successes, and she's multiplying that. She's now giving this to other children, you know, and so this is our aim, obviously, you know, and we can only help a small number of children, but it does make a difference.
Standing in Florian's office, he shows me a picture of a girl and tells me that the poor black people like her and her mother comes here to Cape Town from the rural part of South Africa. They work in the city of Cape Town and typically end up living in the townships. When you look at the townships, like the one we're close to, it's hard to understand why.
So basically all these black people come to Cape Town to work here and find a home here and whatever and find work, because the rural areas are so poor. If you go there, it's beautiful. There's no white people there. It's huge, vast expanse of land. And there you see children like her age walking 10 kilometers with 25 liters of water on her head through the mountains and firewood and bare feet and walking miles and miles to school and things like that. That's the kind of poverty you have up there. So now the black people in Cape Town, my explanation why this is so broken here is because they've been disrupted from their homes and they don't feel like Cape Town is their home. Every money that they make here, they invest in the Eastern Cape. They invest into the homes that they hopefully want to return to when they're retired. So the townships here stay townships.
Looking out the window, I see some wonderful, smiling children running past. They smile at me and instantly I smile back. Florian also smiles, briefly, and then he turns serious and tells me something that blows my mind.
There's a weird habit that these people here have. When a girl is raped, when a child is raped at 3, 4, 5 years of age, doesn't matter, what they do is they take the child, the victim, and they immediately send her 1,500 kilometers to the north into the Transkei.
Let me just repeat that. When a 3, 4, 5-year-old child is being raped, they take the child, the victim, and immediately send her 1,500 kilometers away. Put her alone in a bus for 18 to 20 hours to a different setting without her mother. But what about the creep that did that to her, you might ask?
They do not remove the perpetrator because he's a family member. And they say, he's a man of our family, we need to protect him, we need to do this, we need to do that. So think about it. A girl at 4 first gets raped by a person that she knows from the family, and immediately after that she is sent away from the mother into a different setting, different surrounding, different whatever. She feels like she's being punished. I had a girl here in the orphanage, she's now at university, but she was raped at 4 by her own brother. He was 17, right? The mother immediately protected her son and said, he can't, we can't do anything, we can't send him away. So the same day as this girl was raped, she was sent to Eastern Cape. When I recently spoke to this girl and we did some therapy around the whole issue, she remembers being examined in a hospital about the rape, but the hospital was not in Cape Town. How do you put a 4-year-old raped girl on a bus for 18 hours before you take her to hospital? The girl was in Eastern Cape for a year, didn't understand why, of course, at 4. Then the boy raped another girl somewhere in Cape Town. Then they sent the boy to Eastern Cape and they took the girl back here. Then the boy raped another family member up there, another cousin. Then they sent him back to Cape Town, but somewhere else. The older sister of this girl was raped at 12 by the mother's brother, meaning the uncle. Again, the girl was sent away, the uncle was protected. No, he's a family member and so on. He stayed in the family. This girl, when she came back, was raped again by the boyfriend of the mother. Again, this mother protected the boyfriend, the brother, and her son. All 3 of them rapists, all 3 of them raping her own children, her own girls, and yet the men are always protected. And this I've had many, many times. So you can see how an entire society is so broken and it's mind-boggling, really. And then there's the alcohol, and Yeah, so we have just a very, very different sort of crime. You know, some of the orphans that I have in my orphanage here are not actually orphans. They have mothers or someone who is still alive, but they are so wrecked by alcohol that they just cannot function anymore. They cannot raise their children.
But what about the mother? Was she an alcoholic? How? It seems so heartless. How can she?
It's culture.
It's a culture.
It's culture. The man is dominant. The man is to be protected in the family. The women do not have a right to say, we are sending this man away, or we're doing this, or we're doing that.
There's a study that shows that rape in this culture in South Africa is very common, scaringly common. It stated that every third black man here in South Africa admits openly to having raped a woman in their life.
Every third black man in South Africa admits openly to having raped a woman before, and most of them under the age of 14. You must think about that. Those men think they have a right to sleep with these girls. They don't see it as something wrong. They openly admit it when you interview them. That's how bad it is. It's culture. I don't know what it is. I've been trying to find excuses for years. In my personal mind, I can only find an explanation in this whole thing if I go into the very, very far past of apartheid and colonialism and so on, where these civilizations were really, really literally destroyed. And alcohol takes on such a heavy form, you cannot understand this.
10 kilometers barefooted in the bush, started raining on the way to fetch some water. Poor woman had a baby on her back, was struck by lightning on her way to fetch some water.
That's all we have time for in this episode. I really feel that this is a story that has come full circle. What a remarkable story about a man who was saved by a young African boy when he was just a teenager himself. And that African boy ended up getting killed in an attack in a civil war the next day. This was a turning point for Florian from Germany.
This experience in Congo really shaped me back then. I was 19 and very naive, and it really set me on a path that I can't turn back on.
And then he dedicated his life to helping African children, changing lives and maybe even saving a few. But we're not done here. In a few days I will continue my walk around Vulamasango. Florian shows me where and how the kids live and tells me how he ended up adopting a girl himself. We also talk about townships, teenage pregnancy, the AIDS problem, and how he was hijacked and nearly killed.
I was hijacked. They stopped me at an intersection in Khayelitsha in a township, and they put a gun to my head, and then they tried to press me into the back seat, which means they take you with and shoot you somewhere.
And then I do a follow-up with Florian. We will meet here in Cape Town to talk about how they're coping with the corona outbreak right now in March 2020. What are the consequences for this country, the orphanage, and especially something that's been on my mind, the millions of people living crammed together in poor townships. What's gonna happen if this thing spreads even more? That's this Wednesday, right here on the Radio Vagabond. Partly supported by Hotels25.com and produced by radioguru.co.uk. Yes, I still work, so let me know if you need any help starting a podcast yourself. My name is Palabo. Stay safe. See ya.